Hi folks, I'm back with another video, and this time it's about MudRunner. So this is going to be a complete change of pace, and for this game no racing wheel is really required, although it can make it a bit more realistic, but it's perfectly playable on consoles and using the keyboard itself. I'm not going to be doing a complete gameplay video though, as there are already many out there on YouTube. So this video is going to really be more for people wondering about whether they should buy the game or not and where it fits in. So MudRunner itself is actually a spin-off, if you excuse the pun, from the 2014 Spin Tires game, and there's actually a new version out now, 2020, called SnowRunner. But the reason why I'm not reviewing SnowRunner is that I've just bought MudRunner, mainly because SnowRunner is not released on Steam games as yet. And remember, I'm playing on Linux, so everything that's released on Steam is essentially fully playable for me on Linux as well. So why would I want to buy it as a standalone? SnowRunner is certainly a lot better. I mean, if you are running on Windows at the moment, I would probably recommend that as the go-to game. So just to sort of position really why I'm doing MudRunner at the moment and not SnowRunner. One of the key other differences, apart from the physics, bigger maps and more vehicles and that sort of thing with SnowRunner, is you'll also notice it's got very detailed, unique dashboard cockpits for each vehicle, where on MudRunner it's pretty dismal actually. So not very realistic at all. So then, to answer the question, what is it or what's it about? MudRunner is an off-road simulation video game which tasks you for driving through muddy, unpaved roads in, and I want to say initially, Soviet vehicles with nothing but a map and compass. The reason is because it has been expanded. There are a couple of download content packs that have expanded it to include the US and a lot of additional material that's been provided by players themselves actually. So the aim of the game is to transport logs to their destination without depleting resources such as fuel or damaging the vehicle. There is both single player and multiplayer co-op mode where you can actually play with friends. So that obviously adds another whole dimension to the game and makes it a lot more interesting if you can actually play with your friends. And you'll see as well inside the game, I'll also show there are one or two ways that friends can actually assist you in actually playing the game. The other thing just to remember with the game is, although it's primarily about logging with challenges around logging, there are also trail maps where you can explore and enjoy a particular area along with your friends or on your own as well. So, the game is fully playable on your own as well as with your friends. I will show just some brief scenarios also how the logging and the trails do work. So what we can also mention here is just around the mods. There's, apart from the downloadable content that the game itself provides, there are a tremendous amount of websites that are dedicated to providing mods, not only modded maps, modded vehicles, terrain, various other effects and so on. So you can explore around and actually really expand the game quite dramatically, which is a great feature, I think. And the other thing is, quite a few of them are also available through the Steam Workshop. So you can just subscribe in the Steam Workshop and that material will appear inside the game. Some of the other third-party mod sites, you're going to have to install and expand those files into the correct places, obviously backing up your files before you do it. So I have actually done that. I have expanded some of the terrain features with third-party mods. It's actually using SnowRunner graphics apparently. But this game is not going to show you the detail though that SnowRunner itself actually appears in. So what I'm going to show is what the menus and the interface look like, as well as a short excerpt from a logging and a trail scenario. And I'll just emphasize also one or two tips that can maybe help you if you're brand new to the game. I'm by no means any expert of the game, so I'm really giving a beginner's view as well. I think that may suit new players. I can just, before we go off to the menus, I can just show this particular window here. This is from the website. This was the American Wilds DLC, the downloadable content. This is a pack that expands the game to basically cover American Wilds with a little American town and a bunch of American vehicles as well. But you will also be able to, through the third-party mods, you'll find a lot of modded vehicles that are American, other country based as well. So the pace of the game is obviously going to be a lot slower. Here you're going at 1, 2, 3, 4 kilometers an hour and grinding along, often to get through the mud and through rivers, versus, as I said, racing simulations where you're flying around at 300 k's an hour. So a completely different pace, quite enjoyable. It's very much puzzle and strategy. It's not so much fast driving or driving per se, although you will see as well some techniques for off-road driving. Not that I know anything about that, but some techniques, are applicable to try and get traction and grip. You're not in this game reducing things like tire pressure and things like that. But when you have to get through muddy or waterlogged areas or up steep rocks, you are applying, certain techniques, wiggling the wheels, going into low range gears, that sort of thing. So you do apply, some of the techniques, but it's a tremendous amount of fun. And I think the game is actually very enjoyable, especially for those that are not into racing and some of the other simulation games. So I think, without further ado, let's jump into the menus and we can run through that. So here we have the main screen, and you'll see we've got the mode single player. These are the various challenges that you can complete. And these also take you through sort of a learning process of what you have to do really to get further in the game as well. And you'll see here's also some DLC downloadable content. You've got to obviously complete the earlier missions first. There is a tutorial as well, and I will use the tutorial just to show one of the logging exercises. You can just see that you actually have to sort of pick up the logs and put them in the truck and that sort of thing. Then there's the multiplayer option here where you can join up with other friends, and you've got the control options. So you're first of all going to see the menu options are actually much, much simpler with some of the other racing games I've covered before. This is if you're playing keyboard only. These will be usually most of the default actions, and you can see it is really just accelerate, brake, turn left, right, gear stick. Remember, in many cases you might be playing, say, in automatic, then that's not going to be an issue so much. But for off-road use as well, you've often got to lock it into particular gears if you want to get maximum traction. So a lot of that is also simulated in the game. Parking brakes, headlight, you can move camera views as well. And then really you'll see just now where the advanced mode comes in. That's to unlock certain functionality you need during the games. The navigational map's also quite important because you basically use the map and the compass to find your way around. And these are obviously for multiplayer, text chat and voice chat. That's the controller options it defaults to. The game is available for PlayStation as well as Xbox. And here you'll see the wheel options. So what's interesting is that you can see there as well, it has picked up my Logitech G29 on Linux. So no issues with that at all. And what I also noticed is the force feedback also works, which is very, very nice. I've just got a few options set here, shortcuts that I've set up on my wheel for switching between all-wheel drive and diff lock and winch pulling and so on. So let's go back. Then the game settings, probably an even shorter menu actually. So you'll see obviously adjustment here. You can just adjust your contrast and color, and that's where you adjust it. You've got graphics quality, simulation quality, camera sensitivity, sound levels. You can enable or switch off music. There's the controller vibration, left-handed to or right-handed controls. You can invert camera axis, and you can show keyboard prompts there. We've got voice volumes and so on as well for the multiplayer side of it as well. So really, really pretty simple, I think. So I think, yeah, let's have a look at the tutorial quickly. I'm not going to go through the whole tutorial. It's worth doing because in essence, the tutorial is going to show you some basic game concepts, things like how to move the camera around and how to do the basic driving and so on as well. So yeah. Also notice these vehicles don't drive very well on the road, to be honest. Oh, so it says there, click the left mouse button, then move the mouse to move the camera. Okay, you've got to basically do all of this. Click the left mouse button again to stop moving the camera. That's obviously just to fix your view. So you can stick it about there. And yeah, park brake is off and off we go. So yeah, I'm not going to go through all of them, but basically that's how the tutorial really works. What I do want to show though is on the challenges here, there is a challenge, for example, specifically on crane operator. So I can demonstrate this because it's quite interesting just to see sort of how the crane operation works in conjunction with the rest of the game. So remember that a lot of the challenges are going to be logging challenges. So you've got to drive out to places, invariably repair your vehicle or go find fuel from another vehicle and transport it back to the first one. You've got to then get to the sites where the wood is. In some cases, you may have to even chop down trees and so on. You've got to lift those logs up. You've got to put them in the vehicle. You've got to transport them to a lumber mill. And that's sort of really how it goes. Obviously, the terrain is of varying difficulty. And remember, some vehicles are more suited to real off-road than others. So, yeah, some are going to be quite intense, actually, the driving parts. So let's look at crane operator. I'm going to fast forward though to where I'm actually operating the crane. Otherwise, this is going to be a rather lengthy video. So I'll see you in a couple of secs when I actually get there. Right. Okay, we're now in position. I just had to reverse the truck and I didn't want you to see how bad my reversing skills are. So I had to drive in to this house in front of us there, reverse back in over here and get the truck into position. The reason is also that behind the outhouse over there, there's the log we've got to pick up. So how we do that now is it's prompting us on the right here what to do. So you can keep an eye on that there. I must go into advanced mode, which is the V. And it's now bringing up these other controls here for the crane now. And it's pointing at, I need to turn on the anchors. So the anchors are going to emerge out the back of the truck to stabilize it when we're going to use the crane. So let's just click on there, or you can just press the 6. You see there they've emerged. Now I need to push the anchors down into the ground. There you go, see the truck's lifted up. And now I go to 4 to operate the crane. Now what's opened up at the bottom is also showing me all the prompters here to see what the controls are to move the crane. So if I take, say, E and Q over there, you'll see that E, for example, lifts the crane up or drops the crane down. I'm just going to take it all the way up. And A and D are going to rotate it. Q is going to drop it down again a bit. Then also if you look on the bottom there, you'll see number 5 is the crane grab. So if I press 5, it's going to open up the grab handles. And now what I also need to look at is to rotate the grappler. So R and space there, you'll see the grappler is going to rotate. There we go. More or less just in line with the log. Now I need to also move it more horizontally. So I need to push the crane out a bit. And go down. Now the important thing is also maybe just to change your camera view a little bit if you can. Because you just want to see where exactly you actually are with regards to that log. What has happened to me sometimes is I've nudged the log and the log's rolled off out of range, which is quite a problem actually. Then you've got to go to other lengths to get it. Okay, you can see I'm already a bit far there. So I'm going to bring it back a little bit. And down. There we go. We should be okay to grab now. Right, there we go, got it. Now we can lift up. bring it in a bit, and rotate. Okay, remember we just need to rotate that grappler a bit again so that the log is facing sort of a direction in the truck that it needs to go. Okay, I'm a bit too far forward there. Let's bring it in closer to us. Just gonna... Okay, there we go. It's up against the front. Bring it down and release the grappler. And that's essentially one log that's now in place. So all you now do is you're going to park your crane again, and you'll see there you can click where the arrow is pointing to restore. It's just going to fold up the crane sort of quick for you. And there's my log that's already in the truck now. Now for the rest of this particular exercise, I've got to actually drive the truck out, reverse on the other side over there, pick up another log or two, and then I've got to drive to that house over there and collect another 2 or 3 logs. But it's going to be a bit tedious sort of watching all of that now. So I'm just going to drive the truck back to the base now and deliver these logs. But I think the example was really just to show you how the picking up works for the logs. Okay, so let's look at one of the single player missions then. If you go into single player, you can choose a few default trucks here as well. The other thing that's interesting, I didn't realize, I was trying to figure out how to also switch the games. Yes, you can continue, you can start a new game. This is the game that you selected here, or you can switch to hardcore, which makes it a lot more challenging and difficult, should I say. But if you want to switch the challenge or the map that you're working on, you can actually just click on the map here. And that's where you go to select of the other maps that you want to choose. So the one I'm on at the moment is Island. It says here complete to earn an additional progression point. So you're looking for progression and experience points to unlock other features and vehicles and so on in the game. So it's going to tell you here, this is the typical sort of challenge you'll have to do. Deliver logs to each lumber mill, complete to earn an additional progression point. Now it talks here about reaching all watch points, unlocking all garages. So I'll show you in a second now. Garages will allow you to install various modifications on the vehicle and repair and refuel usually and that sort of thing. There's also refueling points if you need them. So you've got to keep an eye on this map. But the other thing that you'll notice is interesting is if you start a new game now, by default, when you start the game, you've always got to check the map out and see where you are, what you need to do. So if I press F1, you'll notice there's areas that are completely blacked out. You can't see anything there. Essentially, to unlock those, you can travel into them without a problem, but you've got to get to the watch point. The watch point is normally a high tower, a tower on high ground, should I say. Once you've reached the watch point, it'll actually unlock it on the map, but you can see what's going on inside that map. And without unlocking it, you're not really going to know what's inside there. Where's a lumber mill? What do you have to do? You can see obviously where you are at the moment. And these are roads coming down here. This is a river that's got to be crossed as well. So you often want to use this to plot your, obviously if it's unlocked. So typically what a lot of people do is they'll take a scout vehicle and use the light, smaller scout vehicle to quickly traverse the terrain, go to the watch point, unlock it so they can see what's going on, and unlock these other vehicles and things that you can see that are still locked on the map as well. That's obviously the easiest way of doing it. The only pity is on this particular map, this is now MudRunner. It's not, SnowRunner's maps are actually a bit better. They're in full color. You can see the height of the ground better and so on as well. So MudRunner's maps are not that easy to actually interpret. And the other thing you've got to battle, of course, Earth as well is nighttime use. So how you're going to navigate essentially is if you're in the map mode here and I want to get somewhere, let's go, that's a lumber mill. I actually need to find lumber. But how you're going to map is you're going to basically just take your cursor, point at spots on the map here, like that. And okay, I don't know, of course, now where the watch point is, but I can click it like that to say, you can already see now there's going to be some stiff ground to go across to get there. If I go back to the other view, I'll just press F1 again. Those waypoints essentially will appear on the compass. You can see up here on the top left, it shows their distance 58 meters, and it's in that direction. At the moment, it's 9 o'clock in the morning over here. It's important to keep an eye on that because it's going to be nighttime soon. This vehicle is at a garage at the moment. This is a garage point. So essentially, I've got these three vehicles to start with. There's a scout vehicle that you'd normally use to go and look at to go and find the watch points. So typically this truck, I'm going to obviously also want to be choosing a log carriage over there, mainly so that I can actually transport and pick up logs. And you could, if you're there, often there's additional fuel or so on. So to switch vehicles, I go to V again for advanced, and I go change truck, and I'm going to say, give me the scout vehicle. And you'll see here you can install a trailer if you need to, a spare wheel, a trunk. So this typically now, this trunk is going to probably have additional fuel and so on in as well. And usually you're going to want to fill up a lot of those things at the fuel point. So I think let me go to the watch point, then you can just see how it sort of unlocks things. I've got 79 liters of fuel still, so there's enough fuel on this vehicle. Okay, now I'm going to start switching into diff lock and all-wheel drive to get through here. And you're going to notice as well, it shows the fuel consumption, a liter a minute. The Scout vehicles are fairly light, but you'll see on the trucks it makes quite a big difference when you've got four-wheel drive and diff lock on. Let me just check the map, because you know what, I'm not sure. Yeah, I have gone off. You see the arrows already pointing the other way 55 meters. So I'm going to sort of take a bit of a shortcut here then. The other thing you'll notice, especially in automatic, you do tend to go a bit too fast. So you do pick up a bit of damage sometimes, and obviously if your vehicle is too damaged, you'll have to get another vehicle to come out and repair it. That means you've got to fetch the vehicle, drive it out, and obviously all of that takes time. Okay, I haven't actually followed my own navigation now, so, but I do need to, let me just switch this, because otherwise I'm not going to get to the right point. I'm only 117 meters away. Okay, there's the direction. $83 meters. What's the bet? It's on the other side of water. Ah, there it is. Okay, and this is actually quite an easy one. There's some far more difficult ones. Oops. Oh, and I've just bashed into the... So now if I go back to the map again, you'll see this whole area has actually opened up. And now it reveals to you that there's another vehicle over here available, and there's also a log station. Remember, it's not so simple though, because often those vehicles are in need of repair or fuel, and then you've got to go out and go and find it. But okay, I'm not going to repeat the whole of what I did earlier, but essentially you're going to go to these log kiosks, pick up the logs, put them in the truck, and drive them and deliver them to log stations. And that's really how the game progresses as far as the logging goes. The challenges just are different terrain, different types of trucks, and sometimes there are some puzzles you've got to figure out. You've got to get the right trucks in certain parts to do other things that are important as part of the challenge. So yeah, that's one of the challenges. But the other thing I also want to show briefly then really is on single player. Let's choose a different map here. Okay, I'm going to take Oxford County Trails map. This is the rebuild version. So this, you'll see it says uncertified mods. This is a mod that was loaded from a third party. In essence, this is not a logging map. So there's no logging challenges to do. But you can choose whichever vehicles you want, and I can show you some of the vehicles. I just hope it's not going to freeze, because it takes up a tremendous amount of memory for some reason when this map loads. So some of these you'll see are still locked. These are obviously in the game still. I've got to unlock points for them. And various of the other vehicles are modded vehicles that I've just installed as I've gone along. But just to give you an idea, there's a lot of vehicles you can choose from. I'll just go with the defaults because I just want to show you something. So Oxford Trails, it does say unlock the garages. I haven't actually quite figured out how to unlock the second one. But what I'll do is, I just want to show you also how the vehicles can sort of cooperate with each other. It's not an easy trail map. The driving is quite nice, very, very interesting to explore. But there are a few very difficult sections. And I mean, so much so that I actually ended up with a vehicle stuck in a creek somewhere, deep water, on its side, because I'd come down a hill that was actually a bit too steep. So the lesson I learned was I didn't use my winch for a start. Then I sent another vehicle out to try and rescue that one. That vehicle ended up on its roof. I sent a third vehicle out, and on the way I managed to roll that vehicle as well. And I literally was on my fourth and last vehicle, which had to go and help then rescuing all these other vehicles. So you can see they're still fairly mud covered. I had just finished a challenge on this map already. You'll see if I go to F1, these are some of the trails that I've already covered, that I've already finished. A lot of unexplored territory. So my trouble spots were really over here. This is where I was in a lot of serious difficulty. But I just want to show you the concept of how one vehicle can help another with a winch, and what it looks like with a winch. So I think I'm in the Ford F-150 at the moment, and I have already installed various of the accessories on these vehicles. So you see they have got auxiliary fuel tanks, spare wheels on roll cages and racks, and some of these have got repair tools and so on as well, which you can use to help repair the other vehicle. So let's start this one up. And I'm just going to change the view to the back. And I can also just show you briefly on the camera view, if you just want to have a look. This is what I mean. If I can just find the cockpit view. There we go. The cockpit is like really, really basic. I mean, oh, it was a bit sad actually. The outside of the vehicles are actually a lot better. As I said, the new SnowRunner does give you detailed dashboard views with very realistic cockpits. So, you know, a lot more interesting to look at. So let's take this one out. Parking brake is off. I'm in automatic mode at the moment, and if you just want to see how to change the modes, here on the bottom right, if you click there, you can go into low range first gears. You've got reverse manual and low range also for reverse. I'm actually not sure what the +1 was, and that's automatic mode. Let me just leave it in automatic for the moment. Okay, you'll see the back wheel is slipping because I'm on rear wheel drive only at the moment. You can get a good view of it going through here. Okay, you'll see now I am slipping at the back there. So what I'll do is, let me engage four-wheel drive and diff lock, and you can see there she goes. Let's just leave that truck there, and I'm going to go back and fetch the other one. Actually, the easier way is just to do it on the map, actually. I can take any one of these. Let's just take the Chev Blazer. What I just want to show... Okay, it's clearly a diesel, I gather. I just want to demonstrate how that winch works. So with the winches, okay, this one's already stuck. I'll have to... The winches operate actually as a normal winch where you can use it to secure it against a tree and winch yourself out of trouble. And you've got a couple of winch points on the vehicle. But the other thing you can also do is you can work in tandem with a friend. So obviously, you could use the winch to help pull somebody out of trouble, but by linking the winches, you can also put it into sort of a drive mode where the rear vehicle is actually assisting the one in front. So look at this now. If I stop here, how we'll get to winch is you just go to a view where you can see what's going on, obviously. Oh. And you go to advanced mode. And you've got, these are the little spots here. You can see there where I'm standing at the moment. You can winch off on the side. That's quite handy for very steep hills, you know, if there are trees or something nearby. But you can basically click over here and you can click onto the other vehicle, or I could have clicked onto a tree. So if I clicked over there now, for example, push F now to wind the winch. The motor must be running for this. You'll see it'll pull. So obviously that I'd be using to pull myself up a hill or something else. But you can also take it from there onto the other vehicle. And now what's of interest is we are in drive mode at the moment for the winch. But you can also go into pull mode. So pull mode is going to be actually where the rear vehicle will be assisting the front one. So you often use this if it's seriously difficult terrain to be covering. You could winch the two vehicles together. The pull would let you take the second vehicle with the first one, so you don't have to drive both vehicles. And they can, when they're in drive mode, they will then actually be assisting each other. One will actually help pushing the other one, and the first one will be pulling in the front. So it's just an additional technique that one can actually use. So if I switch vehicles here again, change truck to the Ford, you'll see now if I put my foot down, I've got my park brake on. If I put my foot down, that rear vehicle will actually be following. Or not. Okay, that didn't work. Let me just go back. I need to be in advanced mode to winch again. Okay, there I've winched. Let's try again. So if I drive, I'm in the Ford in the front at the moment. You'll see there it's busy in pull mode at the moment. It's pulling the other vehicle behind it. So that's the one way of taking another vehicle with you It could be 2 trucks or whatever the case is. But the other thing now, say for example, the front vehicle has actually got stuck. And I can do that by taking its diff lock and 4-wheel drive off. You can see now it's slipping. Look at that. The rear vehicle is actually assisting it now. You can see the front wheels are not spinning on the Ford anymore. So the winch is actually incredibly useful. And it'll also work in reverse mode. Say for example, the front vehicle got stuck. If I now do reverse, it's also, how can I say, it's controlling the second vehicle to get it to pull the first one back. So yeah, that's just something I wanted to show quickly around the use of winch. It's certainly something that's worth mastering, and there is, I think, one of the tutorials that actually covers you on that. The other thing just to note here then really is the quality of the graphics. As I said, it's actually quite stunning. I don't think I can get much closer here at the moment. But these trucks actually started out clean, and they actually get muddier and dirtier as you drive. And what you'll also notice is you can see now those wheels are covered in mud as well. In many cases, if you're driving out of water somewhere, you'll see even the tires actually wash off. Okay, it's not actually that easy to see at the moment. But this trail map essentially is very much like this. There are, as I said, quite a few sort of difficult sections to drive through. But it is actually stunningly beautiful. So, okay, well there's a good example now. So what happens is your engine is actually going to stall, which means that now I can't actually drive it. But because we got the winch attached, if I go back with the rear vehicle now, okay, what I've probably got to do though is attach the winch to the top of the vehicle. I can just get it. There we go. There we go. Now if I reverse back, it will bring my truck down. Should. Yeah, just remember the engine's got to be running for the winch to work. So if you're finding your winch is not working, the reason probably is your engine's not actually running. And yeah, I don't know what else there was very much to show it. It's very much fun, I think, just exploring the maps and driving around and doing the challenges. As I said, there's already a lot of videos out there showing you the actual gameplay and a lot of detail around them. So I don't really want to repeat all of that. It was more for a quick taste of what the game is actually like. The graphics are not bad. Like I said, the interesting part is, you'll see, oh, okay, I shouldn't have done that. The physics are actually very good and very realistic. You'll see as well if you, okay, my engine is actually stalled. So it's actually a lot of fun to watch these vehicles, you know, going through mud, climbing rocks, and so on. There are a couple of sort of rock crawler type vehicles as well, and in many cases with them they will go over absolutely any terrain, but you've got to be in first gear and you've got to go very, very, very slowly. There is also a tutorial, I think, specifically on crawling. It's quite frustrating because it takes a long time, and some of the exercises they want you to complete from the cockpit view. And the problem with the cockpit view is, like a real car, if it's going over a crest of a mountain, you can't see down on the other side where you're actually going. So it's quite a difficult exercise to try and get completed. But the great thing with those exercises is, like I said, you can save the progress and you can continue the game later on. So I do like that feature because it's really frustrating if you can only play in real time And, you know, sometimes you've got to get away to do something else, and or you can't get back to the game for a day or two. So I think that feature is quite useful. And yeah, I don't know, look, that's really about it, actually. A lot of fun vehicles to try out, a lot of different terrain to have a go at. And I found the game very relaxing, in fact, to actually play. It's just sort of nice to get out there on these maps and go explore the territory and the different trails and so on. So I hope you found that interesting. And you guys must stay safe out there, and I'll see you in my next video.